Hello, people of the internet. Ninja Nick back with another round of the Japan Championships. I've been recording so many of these rounds, back to back to back. And my throat is getting dry, and it is 12:30 at night, midnight. So we have Gardevoir on the left. Makes sense. Gardevoir's a good deck. We have Arceus on the right. Makes sense. Arceus is an okay deck. I really like those sleeves on the right. The Japanese sleeves are way higher quality than our sleeves that we get, even though they have like the same art most of the time, but we don't get all of their sleeve arts. Unfortunately, they still have a really bad shuffle feel and they stick together a lot too, just like the English ones, but they still are better than the English ones by a lot. So I'm always going to stick to like Dragon Shields, Ultimate Guards, Game Genics. Those are all my favorite kinds of sleeves. Ultra Pros suck, never use them for standard size sleeve cards. You can use them for Yu-Gi-Oh sized cards, the small Japanese ones. They're really good quality Ultra Pro for those. Or at least back like 10 years ago when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, so God knows if they're still that good quality now. So I guess don't take my word on that. But Gardevoir just does Gardevoir things, gets that Artisan in play. That's probably, that and the Super Rod are super good additions to the Gardevoir deck from Paldea Evolved. Artisan allows you to search for a non-Rollbox Pokemon that's a basic, put it right onto your bench. Reminds me a lot of Brooklet Hill. That was a really good card, would allow you to search for a basic fighting or water Pokemon to put onto your bench. That was a really great card during the Buzzwole format. But we do get 2 Ralts. I think the bare minimum to even play the game is 2. You usually want to have at least 3, preferably all 4, but, you know, sometimes you prize the Ralts. So still, the start was not too bad. We got 2 Psychic Energies in the discard pile. We have a Radiant Greninja in play to draw some cards. We got the Mew in the active to get some items. Pretty much everything you could ask for. And we get a Path to the Peak and a Judge here from the Arceus side. We also get another Arceus and a Bidoof onto the bench. We do have Metal Energy in this deck, so I'm very curious to see exactly what type of Arceus deck this is. Is this Goodra? Is this Arc Goodra? That's the only Arceus deck that uses Metal Energy that I'm aware of. There's Water Energy. This is Arc Goodra. This is Arc Goodra. I have not seen Arc Goodra in a long time. 10-2 Arc Goodra. Let's go. Everybody likes to talk bad about Goodra, saying it's like a bad deck. But I think I have more losses to Goodra than I do any other deck. And that's with every deck I've ever played. So, at least in formats where Goodra was legal. We get a Kirlia in play. We discard a Battle VIP Pass. Makes sense. Draw some cards. Gets a level ball. We're going to get another Kirlia off of this, most likely. Either that or another Ralts. We are going to get the Kirlia here. We can always draw into the Ralts. Makes sense. Or we prize double Ralts. That's entirely something that could have happened as well. So we are going to evolve into the Kirlia. We are going to Refinement yet again. Discarding a Psychic Energy to draw 2 more cards. I love the way that a lot of these Japanese players draw. They make sure that they don't see the cards before they enter the hand. They want to make sure that they draw the exact right amount of cards. I have not seen much of any gameplay errors from a lot of these Japanese players, which is really cool to see. I mean, I've seen bad plays, but I haven't seen gameplay errors. Looks like we are going to go with the Arven. That's a very interesting inclusion in an Arceus deck. What do you get with Arven? Arven allows you to search for an item card and a tool card and put them into your hand. What? Okay, what is this deck? What is he doing? How is he 10-2? I don't understand. So, Ultra Ball Forest Sealstone? Excuse me, but Arceus V-Star has a V-Star power. You don't need to play Forest Sealstone in an Arceus deck. I've been seeing people like on Twitter talking about how they need Forest Sealstone in their Arceus decks and that they do that all the time. I think that is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Arceus V... You could have Ultra Balled for the Arceus V-Star and used its V-Star power. I guess this way you get around the Path to the Peak. You don't have to replace the path for something else. But still, I think that's really freaking stupid, man. So we're going to Ultra Ball away a Water Energy. We could always Melanie that back into play at some point. Melanie allows you to get a Water Energy from your discard pile, put it on one of your Pokemon V, and then draw 3 cards. Very solid supporter. Well, I guess technically it's a liquid supporter, not a solid supporter. But anyway, even has the Double Turbo and the Arceus V-Star in hand. Oh my god, already. He has all of that. The God Hands with Arceus. I wish Arceus drew like that for me, man. I guess it's because I'm not playing 4 Seal Stone in my Arceus deck. Discarding a Sharon's Care, just going full baller this game, I see. Gonna grab that Goodra V. So Goodra V is something that will be, or Goodra V-Star, rather, will be something that's very difficult for the Gardevoir deck to knock out. It can knock it out in one hit through the -80. It is definitely possible. You can do it with the Zacian and a Sky Seal Stone with like 10 energy on it or something. Yeah, 10. You need 10 energy on it in order to take the knockout. You do like 10 more than you need to with 10 energy. So most Gardevoir decks play 11 to 12 energy cards. So if you were to attack with a 10 energy Zacian and you only play 11 energies, you could actually lose to a boss's orders, bringing up one of your 2 retreat cost Pokemon. Because you would at most have 1 energy left available to you. So that is a concern when you're playing against Goodra, most specifically. Because that's usually the only time where you put like 10 energy on a Zacian. I mean, I guess you could do it for VMAXs, but usually when you're doing that, you win the game. You can also Sky Seal Stone it as well. You could take 3 prize cards off of the Goodra V-Star. Oh, we're even going for the Mirage Step this turn, I see. We're going to Mirage Step a Kirlia into play. That's a bit interesting to see. So we're going to shuffle in 2 Shining Arcanas as well as the Mew back into the deck. And then we are going to use the Ultra Ball to search for the... Or no, we use the Mirage Step to get the Kirlia out. I'm like, how is he getting that Pokemon? He used the attack. So again, I saw this in a previous round. A lot of these Japanese players are using the Mirage Step Kirlia. At first, I thought that was a really good inclusion. But the likelihood that you get a Mirage Step for 2 to 3 Kirlia is very unlikely. Both times I've seen Mirage Step used as an attack so far in this tournament, it's only gotten 1 Kirlia. So it's just replacing itself, so it's doing the same thing as not having an attack. So you might as well have just evolved that into a Refinement Kirlia and drawn a couple of cards. I mean, I guess you'd still have 1 less Kirlia in play, but still, like, you could have just retreated it into the Greninja and let it die, and then you'd still have the same amount of Kirlias in play. Like, I saw that the one before was even more simple because they had like a Cresselia on their bench. I'm like, you could have just retreated into the Cresselia, had the same amount of Kirlia in play that were all Refinement. Looks like we see a Box of Disaster on the Goodra, my dude. So for those who don't know what Box of Disaster did, I explained this in a previous round of a Arceus Giratina mirror. And Box of Disaster says, if your Pokemon is knocked out from full HP, put 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So if a Zacian were to one-shot a Goodra V-Star, it would have 10 energy on it. Which means that you put 200 damage on it with Psychic Embrace, so it has 20 HP left, unless you attached 1 for turn. And even if you attached 1 for turn and got 2 energy with Shining Arcana, you'd still be like 60 to 80 away from being knocked out. So that Box of Disaster will put 8 damage counters on that Pokemon when you knock them out from full HP. So that will knock out your own Pokemon. You will knock out your own Pokemon going into theirs. So this is an extremely uphill matchup for this Gardevoir player, for sure. I already think that Gardevoir doesn't have the best matchup to Goodra personally. I know that a lot of people may disagree with me because you can one-shot them. But by the time you're one-shotting them, like, you haven't taken any prize cards yet, generally. So you have to one-shot 2 Goodras in a row, and you've taken 5 prize cards even if you use the Sky Seal Stone, and then they win the next turn. Like, see, they've already taken 2 prize cards, the player on the right here. So even if they were to start attacking with Goodra now, like, what are you supposed to do? So you just evolved into a Gardevoir EX and passed. This is one of those situations where I would feel like I'm definitely going to be losing the match. It also looks like this was started mid play as well, so there's only about 16 minutes left on the timer. Yeah, they did, I guess maybe the last round started during this match. This was one of maybe the backup games that they had for the stream. I wish the American tournaments did this. But as you can see on the top of the screen, there is an X here and an O here. That means game 1 was won by this Goodra deck. So we are in game 2 right now with 16 minutes remaining. So I do not believe that this Gardevoir deck will be able to take this game. It's just, again, it's at a 2 prize deficit, and it's going to have to one-shot a Goodra V-Star that has a Box of Disaster on it. Gardevoir does not play Lost Vacuum ever. So I don't think that there is a... It doesn't play Escape Rope either, so you can't, like, Escape Rope boss back up the Goodra V-Star in order to nullify the effect, because if a Pokemon has an effect on it and it goes to the bench for any reason, that effect is removed. So any, like, effects of attacks like Goodra V-Stars. So looks like we did get bossed up, knocked out. Again, you're at a 3 prize deficit now. I'm not sure, again, what this Gardevoir can really do to the Goodra. Very unfortunate to see. It definitely has... I think it's like 60-40 Goodra's favor. So again, Gardevoir can win the matchup. It's not the worst thing in the world, but... very uphill, very uphill. So, did not get the Goodra V-Star yet, so this would be the perfect time to boss knock it out. But again, you'll be taking 8 damage counters. So you're going to have to do it with a 1-prizer, and that would put your opponent at 2 prize cards remaining. They could just boss up the Gardevoir EX and 2-shot it, and then you lose. Or they could just boss up the Curlia. I mean, that would be what you're attacking with, right? Because you would be turning it into the Shining Arcana. Or you'd have to go with Zacian, which is a 2-prizer itself. That would get knocked out again because of the Box of Disasters. And yeah, just passing the turn into the Arceus that is then just going to boss you up and take the knockout. And I'm not sure what you do from here. So just keeps using the Squall Vet here to shuffle the hand onto the bottom of the deck and then draw a card. Resetting your entire hand again by using the Beebrill as well. So the Squirrel Woodchuck combo is too powerful. How many cards could a Beebrill chuck if a Beebrill could chuck Beebrill's cards? I don't know. I'm just saying nonsense because it's late at night and I'm tired. So yeah, I mean, again, Gardevoir is just way too far behind to even have any sort of chance to be able to pick the game back up. It would really have to go through the Goodra in one shot, and that would give your the opponent the opportunity to get the Box of Disasters off. So you'd have to be playing something along the lines of Lost Vacuum in order to even have a chance to win the game. And even still, if you were to do that, you need to take 6 prize cards. So you can take 3 off of one of the V-Stars and then 2 off of the next. And then by that point, your opponent has taken the last 2 prize cards. They can just knock out 2 1-prizers. They can 2-shot the Gardevoir EX. That's all going to be done by the time that you are able to take out 3 of the 2 prize Pokemon your opponent has in play, or 2 of the 2 prize Pokemon with an extra prize from a Sky Seal Stone, plus like either the Squirtle or Beeble. So you have to take at least 3 knockouts in order to be able to win, and your opponent wins in 2 turns. So the math, not mathing for this Gardevoir player, very unfortunately, is going to be able to bring up the Beeble and go for the knockout after Psychic Embracing to itself. But again, this Goodra is just going to come up. It's going to be reducing damage it takes by 80. So the Gardevoir is only going to be able to do 110 to it at best. So yeah, you can 2-shot the Goodra to get around that, but that gives them the opportunity to hit you for 200. So do you want to take 8 damage counters, or do you want to take 200 damage? Arceus player just attaches a water energy to the Squirtle, just so that it has the ability to retreat if it were to be bossed up. And everything in play currently has the energy to attack or retreat on this Arceus' side. So that Goodra is just going to be rolling them irons straight through this Gardevoir. Fortunately, it is a dragon type and not a metal type Pokemon. So it's not going to be hitting for weakness, but of course this Gardevoir does have darkness weakness instead of the more common metal weakness it used to have when it would be printed as fairy type cards. Looks like we are getting the Wordeer into play with the Sky Seal Stone. So I suppose you could move a bunch of energy to it and try to take a one-shot. But then the Arceus comes up and finishes it off because of the fact that there was that Box of Disaster. So the Box of Disaster, 100% unnecessary to win this matchup. But it definitely feels like the checkmate to this scenario here. And again, and since this is the second game in a best 2 out of 3, if you've already lost one, if you were to scoop this one to quote-unquote save time, like I always like to say, you would actually just be losing the entire match, so there is no more game to play. So you do have to try your best to win this game, which always feels bad. Yeah, at this point, you have to win this game and the next one in order to win the match, and you only have 10 minutes remaining. They're talking about the Wordeer. Again, it can, if it goes active, or it can go active and move all the energies to it, something like that. Again, still trying to play it out, but you have too many threats on your opponent's board. Only like 2 cards left in deck as well? I mean, you could, like, if you had Cresselia, you could have Psychic Embrace to a bunch of Pokemon and use Cresselia to move damage counters off and knock out the Squirtle, I suppose. And that would put you at 4 prize cards remaining. Your opponent takes 1 prize on the Cresselia. And then, how do you win? You one-shot the Goodra, and then... yeah, again, you'd still have to one-shot something. And the Box of Disaster is always just that nail in the coffin for you, no matter what. Oh, he plays Cross Switcher? What? Okay, so the Wordeer is becoming active. It has 220 HP, I believe. He is going to discard his own Gardevoir. Yeah, oh my god, this just became a game. Oh, this just became a game. Oh my lord. So he is going to be able to one-shot this Arceus V-Star. Take 2 prize cards, go down to... or take 3 prize cards because he used the Sky Seal Stone. The Goodra is not going to be able to win off of this. So if he gets boss's orders again, he can one-shot the next Arceus V-Star and win the match. Oh my lord. Oh my god, he did it! What? Or he wins the game, not the match. This goes to game 3, but they only have 8 minutes remaining. Oh my god, that was the most sick play I've ever seen in my life. Oh my god, Wordeer is the man. Wordeer's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. Technically he's a deer, but he's a GOAT. He's the GOAT. God, I cracked myself up. Alright. So we are going to get to a game 3. We're going to fast forward ahead just a little bit. They have 5.5 minutes remaining. The Arceus player goes first since they lost the previous game. They're going to start Arceus. They're going to bench some Pokemon with this Nest Ball. So they have double Arceus in play along with a Bidoof with the Carol-free countenance, so it can't take bench damage, which does not matter in this matchup, as well as a Goodra V going to the bench. Again, 5 minutes remaining. That clock is right in the players' faces. They are aware of how much time is in the round. Unlike at some other tournaments, they don't tell you what the time is. Has a double turbo energy and a path to the peak, just passes. The path to peak seems a little premature because you want to save that for the Gardevoir EX. Although if the Radiant Greninja were to come down, it does shut that off as well. So you might be getting into a situation where it does go by prizes for whoever wins the game. So I do believe that the Arceus is very much favored in a more sudden death type scenario where they were to be, where one of them would be winning by prize cards. So we are going to see the Mew become active. You do have to discard that energy to retreat, sir. You do have to discard that energy to retreat, sir. And he just passes with the Mew active. Yeah, so he didn't play a switch card, so that energy has to be in. Oh no, he used the attack. Oh, I'm dumb. Okay, he used the teleportation attack, so he did 10 damage to the Arceus. You see it there. There's the 10 damage right there. To teleport into the Mew. That's why he didn't use the Mew's Mysterious Tail ability. So now, if you can Rare Candy into Gardevoir EX right now, you are big chilling. The Arceus deck actually does not get the V-Star. So just attacks with Power Edge for 110 and taking the knockout to go up on prize cards taken. We are going to go for the Iono. Both players are going to shuffle their hands to the bottom of the deck, draw a fresh 6 for the player on the left, 5 for the player on the right, because it is based on your prize cards remaining. Rare Candies into the Gardevoir Shining Arcana. Draws a Psychic Energy off of that. You can attach that. He decides not to? So let's see, he would be doing 150, 180. Yeah, I guess that's correct. You want to save your Gardevoir. So now this player on the right needs Arceus V-Star Boss's Orders, but with that Path to the Peak, that's not very likely. Looks like we can go for the Forest Seal Stone yet again with this Arven. We can go Ultra Ball Forest Seal Stone. And we can use the Forest Seal Stone to get a replacement stadium or maybe a Field Blower, or not Field Blower, Lost Vacuum in order to get that Path to the Peak removed, so we can use our own Starbirth, get the Goodra V-Star, as well as maybe the Bibarel. That would not be a bad play. Or he can't use. Yeah, if he is able to replace the stadium. So he can't. So he's not going to be able to replace the stadium and Starbirth because he's going to have to Forest Seal Stone for the replacement stadium. So that wouldn't work. So I'm not sure what he's going to Forest Seal Stone for, unless it's for the Arceus V-Star, I guess. You got to play a lot faster, man. Gets rid of the Field Blower. Gets rid of the Lost Vacuum. There's so many similar cards that they've printed over the years that sometimes my brain just wants to say what it wants to say. So Forest Seal Stone coming out here is going to be able to search the deck for any one card. Since it is the ability of a tool card, it is not shut off by Path to the Peak. Path to the Peak only shuts off the abilities of Pokemon with rule boxes. It does not shut off the abilities of tool cards. So Arceus V-Star can use the tool cards ability, which is a very weird ruling that doesn't make any sense to me, but you know, whatever. Normally these cards say that it gives the ability to that Pokemon, but it says the Pokemon can use the ability on this card. So they designed it specifically that way to be used in conjunction with Path to the Peak. So they definitely knew what they were doing in making that card to make that complicated ruling. So we are going to put some energy into play onto the Goodra. We are 2 prize cards ahead now. So if this Gardevoir deck is able to get to the Gardevoir EX, we might actually see a tie in the prizes. But the Arceus deck is still 1 prize card ahead, essentially. So if they are able to attack, they will be able to win the game. I would not assume that this would go to a double game loss, aka a tie. because I do believe that they do go by prize cards. So I think they finish whoever's turn it's on. Or if they're tied on prizes, go until the next person takes a prize. 6 seconds left. They're going to call time any second here. And they called time just now. That timer was perfectly synced. So I think since the Gardevoir deck was not able to declare its attack, was not able to get there, they are saying that is 1-1. I can tell that by the hands that are flying around. Do they go by turns? I saw one other game go to time earlier. But I'm just not quite sure exactly what's going to happen. If they're going to play out 3 turns, or if it just goes by the prize cards, or if they're getting a double game loss or what. But I'm pretty sure the previous round where I saw a time scenario, they did finish playing out a turn, and the guy was up on prizes, and I think they just won from there, so I'm not sure if the player conceded or not. So it looks like we are going to be playing out this turn at least, so we are going to be able to use Shining Arcana to draw 2 cards. If any of them are Psychic Energies, you can just attach them. Could have done that last turn because we did draw a Psychic Energy off of one of them. We are going to Refinement away a Psychic Energy to draw 2 more cards. Ultra Ball and a Stadium, it looks like. Not quite what we want to see here. We do need a... Well, we do want the Stadium, but we also need the Gardevoir EX in order to use its ability to take a knockout this turn. But even if we do that again, the Goodra V-Star can just come up and take the knockout. Well, the Goodra V can just come up and take the knockout. It doesn't even need to evolve into the V-Star. It can just use... I forgot what its attack is called. The Goodra V-Star is Rolling Iron. The Goodra V has a very similar sounding attack. I know the first attack is Slip and Trip. I can't remember what the second one is called. But it does sound very similar to Rolling Iron. So we're going to Ultra Ball. We're going to discard the Battle VIP Pass and the Roxanne. Probably going for that V-Star. Oh, maybe we're going for the Curlia. We are eyeing that up. We're also going for the maybe Cresselia we eyed up as well. I'm not sure what the Cresselia would do for you in this situation. You need to take a 2-prize knockout now. It would be really good to take a Boss's Orders knockout on the Goodra V-Star. Because if they are going to play to the full 3 turns, then the Gardevoir player could actually potentially win the game by going ahead on prize cards. You could actually see like a Sky Seal Stone play. Oh, actually, if you use Sky Seal Stone now, you could win the game. If you use Zacian, Sky Seal Stone, knock out the active, you win. And it looks like he's not able to do it. So it looks like you finish the turn that you're on in Japanese tournaments, and then whoever is up on prizes wins the game. So it looks like the player on the right with the Goodra is able to win the match. But yeah, if Gardevoir was able to set up the Zacian with a bunch of energy and the Sky Seal Stone, it could have taken a 3-prize knockout on the Arceus V-Star in the active spot, going ahead by exactly 1 prize card to win the game. So that was a lot closer than it seemed, but that was still asking a lot from the Gardevoir player with their current setup. They were not able to get as set up as they needed to in order to get such a hot start. They just needed a lot more time in this matchup to be able to pull out ahead. So that was a really good match, what we saw of all of it. We did miss game 1, but yeah, that was really cool to see that Weird come out of nowhere and steal that game too. That really felt like that was not Gardevoir's game to win, and they came out ahead. So as always, guys, do not forget to feed that algorithm, comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in another round of Pokemans.